Hey everyone, Brandon Palaniuk here, and I'm going to give you guys a rundown of what exactly a Ned rig is and when we fish the Ned rig and how we fish the Ned rig. And to start with, let's start with the jig head. That's essentially what makes it a Ned rig, is the design of this jig head. Typically it's a very small finesse style jig head. The big thing that you want to look for when selecting one is that the weight of this jig head is mostly all forward. So you see we've got the hook, it comes around, we've got the hook shank, you've got a little bait keeper here. I like this cone style. It seems to hold the bait a lot better, so you're gonna go through a lot less baits with that style versus just the little, barb style one. And then it's typically got a flat back to it, so you can push that bait up against it flush. And then a 90-degree line tie, that's important. And then the weight forward, that's the most important part. That's gonna allow this jig head to stand up on its nose with the bait's tail up in the air. That's exactly what a Ned rig is right there. Now when it comes to bait selection, what we put on our jig head is very simple. You can do a lot of cross style baits and different things, Adrenaline Craw Juniors and stuff. Those have their time and place, but 9 times out of 10, I go with a very simple straight bait. And my favorite one is this little X-Zone 3-inch Ned Zone. I like the 3-inch style. Every once in a while, I'll go up to this 4.5-inch style, but you can see very similar design, exact same design, just a little bit longer one if those fish are feeding on bait a little bit bigger. But we're going to talk about the 3-inch one for now and how to rig that. The big key with this is making sure that it's very straight. And this Ned Zone, it's got a little line that goes down the back or the front of it. It's going to help you line that straight up so you can run your hook point right down that. So we're going to go right in the top center of the bait. We're going to slide that down, and I'm following that line that is on the bait. And we're going to go through that bait right through the center. You want to make sure you stay in the center of the bait, and then we're going to push that up, and now we've got a perfectly straight little Ned rig. The reason that's important is so that this bait falls straight down. You don't want it spiraling on the way down or when it's coming back, because that's going to create a lot of line twist, and it doesn't look as natural when it's falling through the water. So that straight one is going to allow it to fall straight down, and then as it sits there on the bottom, you can see how that little tail, it's got a little bit of a fatter bulbous tail. This bait is going to float, so it's going to help kick that up with that weight forward on the jig head, and it's going to be sitting down there on the bottom. Now when you're fishing this bait, we're going to cast it out there. We're going to let it sink all the way down to the bottom on a semi-slack line, a little bit of a bow in your line, but not too much. And then you're going to watch your line, and you're going to let it sit and hit the bottom. And then we're going to click our bail over, and we're just going to start slowly pulling this bait. If you've got a lot of wind, keeping your rod tip down will help keep that line closer to the water and not want to drag your bait as much. You'll have a little bit better sensitivity. If it's calm, you can pull straight up, but if you have your rod tip down, it's going to stay on the bottom a lot better. And as you pull that bait, it's going to kick that bait up, and it's going to be pulling along the bottom, and that tail's going to be shaking. And then we pause it, right? And it just sits there, and that tail kicks and kicks. We pull it a little bit more, pause it. If you feel it come up against a rock, you can shake your rod tip a little bit, and it's going to cause that tail just to start dancing around a little bit underneath the water. And those fish, they just can't stand it, right? It's something super easy, simple for them just to suck that bait in and start swimming off with it. Now, when you feel that, give those fish a second and then just lean into them. Now, the next important part of this setup is our rod, our reel, and our line setup. I'm gonna start with line, since I mentioned watching your line as it's sinking. You notice I've got this green line on here, this flash green braid. This is a Seaguar Smackdown flash green in 15-pound test. The reason I like braid is because it's a 15-pound test, but it's the equivalent diameter of a 6-pound fluorocarbon or monofilament line. And the other thing is that it virtually has zero stretch and zero memory because it's made out of different fibers. And so it's going to cast a lot better and manage a lot better on this spinning reel, right? It's not gonna blow up off this reel when I open my bail. That's a big important key, right? It's just nice, smooth, it's not exploding up off of that reel like a fluoro or a mono would. So that's why I like that braid. The flash green allows me to be able to see that line much better as it's sinking, and I can detect when it hits the bottom a lot better. It's also gonna help with detecting bites if you're in really windy, nasty stuff. Now, most of the time I'm gonna throw an 1/8 ounce. Sometimes I'll go up to a 3/16 or a 1/4, just depending on depth and current and conditions like that. So the deeper you go, the more current or more wind you go, step that weight up. Typically start with the 1/8 ounce. The next thing is the reel. You wanna select a reel that is not too big in size, but not too small. The reason for that is I want a big enough spool that's going to allow that line to come off nice and even and smooth. It's going to give us better casting distance with that bigger spool. But if you go too big, then it's going to start to get big and cumbersome, and we're going to lose some of our balance and our sensitivity. So I like the 3000 size Daiwa Exist. That seems to balance out really well for me and give me the best of power, casting distance, and sensitivity. It's got an incredible drag. That's one thing you want to make sure is that you've got a really good solid drag and very smooth drag on your bait because you're throwing lighter line. Now, as we come down into here, we've got an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. So we're not going braid straight to our bait because we don't want the fish to be able to see it. We want to be able to see our line, but we don't want the fish to be able to see that line. Fluorocarbon is virtually invisible. I start with 8-pound Seaguar Gold Label, and then if I'm around heavier cover, I may go all the way up to a 12-pound test, and I may go all the way down to 6-pound tests sometimes if I'm around really open, clean, sandy bottoms. And I don't need that heavier pound test, and the fish are a little line shy. And the next thing is our rod. This is a 7-foot medium action. I like that medium because it gives us a light enough tip to control that 1/8 ounce to be able to cast it, feel the bait on the bottom, but it still allows enough backbone and good even backbone to draw those fish away from cover and have the power to land those bigger fish. Now, one big thing is key is that you want to pair your reel and your rod up together as best as you can. The reason for that is that you get the most sensitivity out of balance. And what I mean by balance is depending on how you hold the reel, it's going to be different for everyone. I like 1 finger behind the reel seat. I like 3 in front. That gives me the most control of the rod, gives me the most power, and I can also stick my finger up here on the blank if I'd like to, but I hold it right there. Now watch, when I remove these other fingers, see how that rod just balances perfectly horizontal? That means that you have a perfectly balanced setup right there. So if I go back, put those fingers, you want that forward most facing finger to be your balance point. That's going to allow the most sensitivity, the less fatigue on the water. It's just going to be a better experience if you can pair those up like that, where you've got that perfect balance. So hopefully that helps you out next time you're out there fishing around bluff ends, docks, weed lines. It doesn't matter. You can fish a Ned rig anywhere. Give it a try. If you want more info, more details on this, make sure you guys go to check out midwayusa.com.